Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I believe we are back from the break. If we are not, then I will maybe be sending you on another one before we break into game number 2. But for all intents and purposes, I believe that we are back. Welcome on back here. A crazy game to start things off. ADR farmers doing just that. I believe 1,500 ADR or so. Just under that is where they sat from game number 1. And no surprise to be seeing a massive point count coming out from them from that match. Stellar, not going to be too far behind them. 14 points is what they were able to pick up. And then Fight Club and Brute Force contesting for that third place position. Things are going to develop, though. These are a very early look at the leaderboards and how these teams will progress. I would expect a big shakeup, at least for some of these teams, as the game continues on. Another look back at how things are going here on the leaderboards. We'll talk about it. Boris had a tough time in game number 1. They had engaged onto the members of Brute Force, and things quickly shifted out of their favor as that engagement raged on, as the blue zone really put a lot of pressure on their backsides. Hakkapeliittas is another squad that found a little bit of difficulty from third-party presence as they sat atop the hillside. And those are really the major factors as to why they weren't able to find much in game number 1. But as I said, a hell of a lot of PUBG to be played out here. I believe, 15 more matches. 15 more matches, including the one that is about to be played out. So teams will be able to have one of those handicapped, one of those bogey games where you just kind of throw it out of mind and out of sight, and try not to let that affect your mentality, affect your performance moving forward. I hear some footsteps behind us, which means, yes, sure enough, game number 2 is underway here of stage number 2 for the PELC promotionals. Welcome back on in here to the stream, guys. If you were taking a little bit of a break, but welcome back indeed. My name is Esquire. I'm going to be your commentator over the next 4 days as we watch all of this PELC promo action play out. It's going to be exciting because, as I mentioned at the start of the broadcast, 9 of these 16 teams will have the opportunity to move up into the PELC for the first phase of 2020. But it doesn't stop there for these squads. It's certainly going to be continuing to be a path to pro, but one that's going to have many obstacles in the way. It's certainly not easy. It's going to be a very hard path for these teams to traverse through. But let's get it. Game number 2 is underway. It's Miramar, the desert map, back to the 8x8 kilometer maps and back to the desert. Plane path coming out of the far southern area of Miramar. Going to be very slightly favored over towards the eastern side of the map. But it's not going to be too bad. Most of these teams will be able to spread out accordingly and find those primary loot locations that they're going to be trying to take away with here. In the first Miramar game of stage number 2, again, you always have to be a little bit careful here on this first day of play when you have new teams thrown into the mix. There's going to be a lot of clashing, and it's going to stay true here. Even on the larger maps, there's going to be teams fighting over those priority positions, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of grandstanding coming out of these squads just to try to protect those areas moving forward. Again, Miramar is going to be one of the maps that we play a majority of the games on. So these teams have a little bit more at stake here as we see phase number 1 pop. It is going to be centered almost directly on top of the junkyard, which means an eastern favored circle here for game number 2. And as always, guys, make sure that if you have a team that you're here supporting, or multiple teams, and you've got emotes, or you've got catchphrases, or you just want to hashtag whatever your team name is, do it. Feel free to do it. That's why we have these types of things like chat. So throw out that support, guys. I'm sure all of the players of these respective teams love to see it when they go back and check out the VODs. Popping over here to Picado, it's going to be uncontested. A nice pickup for the Preachers as they make their way through the 4 corners of this town. A good pickup for them here in the early stages of the game. That centralized area of the map again. Same story as Sanhok. A little bit less impactful here, but it is going to be helping them out in terms of those early rotations. See a lot of support in the chat for Dose. See a lot of support for those guys. Shout out to you, Dose fans, as well as Melt Power. See a lot of support for those guys. Check it in over here to El Azahar. It's going to be Hakkapeliittas, uncontested in this northeastern drop location. A drop location that finds themselves at least pretty comfortable on the eastern side of the map. Here you have it, Dose fans. There they are, down all the way here in Puerto Paraiso, where they will also be uncontested. Shots coming out, though, as Iffy from Level going to be spotting out the members of Fight Club. And a bit of a scout. Gifted rolling through in the buggy. Not going to be out of dodge just yet. But the farther and farther he does escape, the more likely he is to survive. But as you can see, I mean, transitions, even across what you think might be a fairly safe distance, are not going to be too safe here. Gifted forced to have to pull off into definitely not the location he wanted to be in. Tony team going to be entering into the mix as well. Blacklight and his teammate Saban going to be pulling up. They spotted out immediately. Iffy doing a great job of defending this area, creating a bit of a buffer zone around and peacocking or grandstanding or whatever you want to call it. Whatever you think of as making yourself as more of a threat than you actually are. If these teams knew that it was a solo player, I think that Fight Club know that it's a solo player, at least up here from Level. I think Gifted was able to deduce that off of the lack of pressure that was applied onto that buggy. This is why you see Rizzle and a few other members of Fight Club start to pull up to this hillside. Again, they don't really earn too much off of securing this position. It's not going to be a dominant position to hold throughout the game, even if the circle continues to favor it. But it is going to be one that frees up this area and possibly opens a few kill points to be taken away by one of these squads. Level looks like they're going to be trying to disengage off of this entirely. They heard the rotations coming in by some of the members of Fight Club, and I'd be surprised if we rolled back into this. But as you see, Level not going to be rolling off too far in the distance. They could even be trying to posture themselves atop the hillside to get that elevated line of sight on the Fight Club. Dose pilots going to be making their rotation as Royalty does as well here. Infection going to be crossing the paths of two of the members of the Intruders. Nailcop and his teammate going to be pounding some shots into this direction. The Mini 14 5.56 shots won't be ringing true, but will definitely serve as a massive, massive amount of pressure coming off the western flank of where now Royalty currently sit. This is a position that we've seen many teams fight in over the course of competitive PUBG. Definitely a graveyard of epic proportions as we see the blue zone now start to work its way in towards phase number 1. Some of these teams making very late rotations are going to be feeling the hurt. The Istanbul Wildcats, Ginzo, picked up one of the first kills of game number 1 on Sanok previously, but now will be one of the first casualties here in this match. The Brute Force squad is able to pick that first kill point up for them moving forward. Preacher is going to be moving out, holding on to the western edge of the La Bendita crater. This is a good position for them. It's not going to be too bad. A lot is to be gained here from those elevated lines of sight, and certainly blocking off any type of rotation into the crater itself by teams trying to make a desperation play. So we'll see how that progresses. Level has moved off of that initial loot location as well. We'll be trying to sit atop the hillside. A lot of really teams just trying to gather some information right now. It's not going to be too hard for these squads to work their way in towards phase number 1. ADR feeling a little bit of pressure right now. Anonymous very far off in the distance, but CrazyCrew doesn't necessarily have the optics, it seems, to take deadly shots at that squad. They will try to reset off of this and look onwards towards future rotations in this direction. Istanbul Wildcats, you can see they fought through a little bit of hell to get to where they are after having lost one of their members, will only be a 3-stack moving forward. Before we even enter into the mid-game, Laza, Apocalypse, and BSD will be seeing if they can pull up something here, but the Preachers start to approach on the hillside just off to the west. This is southeast off of the La Bandita Crater. We saw Preachers rolling up onto the Bandita Crater cliffs, and they will have a beautiful line of sight down onto the Istanbul Wildcats. Selfish with the SKS, 6 times the top. Won't be able to land any of those necessary shots, but certainly will be alerting the Istanbul Wildcats of their enemy presence. The Milt Power crew going to be rolling through here as phase number 1 is almost done closing out. At the 9-minute mark is where we will see that phase 2 shift. And every squad has been able to safely make it into phase number 1. No teams having been eliminated just yet. And almost a hard shift. It is, for all intents and purposes, going to be a hard shift down to the south. Water still going to be in play, about 20% off to the east coast. Impala going to be a massive magnet for many squads trying to find a priority or even just a safe location inside of this second phase. But migration is what we are going to see from north to south for multiple squads who are outside of phase number 1. The Istanbul Wildcats continue to have this pressure applied. BSD tried to hop in that Murado that we had previously seen smoking when we last checked in with his squad. No longer smoking, now up in flames. BSD able to pop out just in the nick of time to avoid going up in flames with that car. Tony team, Federino, Sabin, and the rest of the crew still going to be sitting here inside of this compound trying to make rotations, though the front lead player, Blacklight, will be trying to bob his way through a barrage of gunfire coming from multiple different teams. I believe 2 teams have Tony team's Blacklight in their sights. But making that push into Impala is a huge play. We recognized when we saw the map a few minutes ago how open this city was and how priority it was in terms of phase number 2. The real draw, though, is going to be whether or not Tony team can get those other members through that same rotation path and do it safely. I think Blacklight really felt the hurt and will be hard-pressed to try to pull his team through that same location. Sabin, he's going to be doing it. Not a care in the world right there. There's Dose Pilots. Lipsin able to pick up a nice kill with the Mini 14 on to Gifted of Fight Club. And you can see Fight Club's in a tough position right now. Stalled out in the middle of a field. Nothing but a shack to really provide them that necessary cover. We'll probably be able to get the res based off of the shack. However, what are they going to be able to do moving forward? Istanbul Wildcats still can escape this absolute deadly pressure that continues to be applied on them from multiple different squads at multiple different junctures of this game. Iffy, the rest of the crew, going to be dipping outside. They're going into the blue zone in favor of that far transition. Hopefully going to be coming up from the southern area of phase number 2. Now, this isn't a bad decision for this squad to make, and they made it essentially at the necessary time as well. However, they will likely have to deal with Stellar, who has moved in. But as far as things are considered, it's, I think, a much more favorable area of the map for them to be playing off of. Royalty is still going to be sitting comfortably atop the hillside compound that they were able to secure about 4 minutes ago. However, Royalty is an interesting squad, at least based off of the first game of play that we did see. They're a squad that, when we checked in on them on Sanhok, they were 4 alive. They were sitting in a very good compound, but things devastatingly went out of their favor when they got pushed by the members of Brute Force off of the hillside. Another game, another opportunity for them to try to claw back at that. They picked up 2 points from game number 1. We'll be trying to get a little bit more than that as their average as the games progress. Phase number 3 pops. It's going to be centered a little bit off towards the west, but not too far so of Impala, which draws even more importance over to this part of the map. Tony team's Feberino has not been able to drop down from that Minas Generalis outskirt area, and will be forced into a rotation here shortly. Level Esports still going to be inside of the blue zone. They're trying to met up before they cross over the hillside into not just the great unknown, but a very wide open area where just a few shots, if they didn't heal now, would drop them out of the vehicles. Everyone going to have ample time, though, to recover before they push in and advance into phase number 3. Shots coming out. Fight Club ends up spotting out Hakkapeliittas. And with a vehicle explosion, out goes Martin, the first player of that squad to be eliminated. Fight Club was, I believe, able to pick up their fallen teammate. But it looks like something happened since then. It looks like something happened since then, and they've lost him. CrazyCrew going to be rolling in here off of the far eastern side of phase number 3, holding on to the coastal cliffs. It is not going to be a bad decision. It's one of the more open areas of the map and has been at least fairly welcoming for several teams as you go down the southern coast. Royalty has departed off of that compound where they had previously been sitting for the majority of the early to mid-game transition. Hakkapeliittas has been able to at least advance their team with 1 down off to the eastern side of this hill. Hakkapeliittas, they spot out the members of Royalty and will be taking the shots, but Intruders also spot out Tony Team's Feberino, who's just trying to find a little bit of cover to avoid the shots coming in from this Intruder squad. It's not going to be enough. The buggy goes up in flames, and so does Feberino as he gets dropped out of the match. Royalty trying to pull off that hillside where they were engaged by the members of Hakkapeliittas will be forced into yet another fight. CrazyCrew, Vital is going to be right there to mop it up. Ends up getting a knock and a flush as Pluto for the CrazyCrew looks on. They're trying to stack up another kill point. And might be able to find it here, too. Jesse for Royalty going to be popping out of the vehicle. Even more pressure, though, applied onto the Istanbul Wildcats. A trade back and forth between the Intruders and the Wildcats will be giving both teams a small opportunity to try to pick this res up. Nailcop was extremely separated off the other members of this Intruder squad. You can see a better idea of how separated on the northwestern side of the map right now. Nailcop will be going down secured as a kill point for the members of the Istanbul Wildcats, and they also get the hard shift over to the western side of the map. Our teams that were playing off the eastern coast, off of those eastern hills, will have to make a deadly transition over towards the west, and what lies in the west is not going to be all too welcoming. We talked about the east coast, very welcoming, a lot of hill positions, a lot of different dips, etc. to play off of to give you that necessary cover here in these late game moments. But where we have shifted over towards the west, there's going to be some fields. There's going to be a lot of wide open areas, a few dips that present big grenade potential. We'll see how it plays out, though, but definitely starting to see that inevitable action pop off. Teams are going to be beginning to drop like flies here very shortly as the action pops off in between Boris and Stellar. Trades back in between both of these squads, and I believe it's going to be Boris that is coming up on top of it, at least for right now. Still going to have 2 up, at least for Stellar, as the flush comes in from Sando onto Moleman. Our 2 players that carried Stellar into that second place position for game number 1 are going to be down, unable to assist here. So it relies heavily on the other half of this team to try to pull through. Phase 4 in full effect, 2 minutes on the clock. Blue zone working its way in, and the battle rages on. Extend's going to be flushed out. Celis is able to find that tag down with the nade, and the ADR farmers are going to be heavily pushing up now. Jesse, the player of Royalty, who was able to escape multiple different teams firing upon him on that eastern coast, is no longer going to be able to continue here. ADR farmers spot him out and wipe him out of the match. With 13 players having been eliminated so far, we have yet to see a squad drop out, which just goes to show the importance that these teams are putting on survivability. Any opportunity to disengage, any opportunity to stay alive, these squads are taking it. It's also kind of a product of squads being very separated and playing a little bit loose in those scouting opportunities. Beamy going to be staying alive here. The res comes out. Celis going to be his teammate this time around, as Stellar is would be in a similar situation to what they found themselves in game number 1. Different map, same story. Approaching the 18-minute mark of the game, Stellar is going to be pinched in between Boris and CrazyCrew. CrazyCrew inside of the gas station will have the cover to work off of should the shots come out from Sando and Mkaelovich of Boris. Big crash coming in right now from the members of Level on the HaKoHe. HaKoHe, excuse me. A breach comes in full effect. It's going to be a spray down through this fatal funnel coming out from Fiend. Wow. Pretty much true to the name. Wow, indeed. Picking up a nice double kill. A great way to put your aggressors on their back foot is just to wipe them down, to mow them down as they try to push up on top of you. Fiend does pick up those kills. Level now going to be left with one member alive. Moonlight trying to keep his team from going out here in 16th place position. One kill is definitely not going to be the substantial amount of points this team wants to be walking away with from this match. Next shift does come out. It's going to be a hard shift down towards the south, which is going to be forcing a few different engagements right now. Moonlight, solo player, for Level, staying alive here in a bit of a dip. But the action starts to mount all around the map. The Intruders are under pressure. Preachers coming up with a nice kill on the Mkaelovich as the other Intruders try to at least maneuver this far northern part of the circle. Phase number 5 is not going to be friendly for these teams up here towards the north. The Istanbul Wildcats are going to have to make a bit of a movement. And it seems like Moonlight's trying to disengage off of this, but he does get spotted out. Boris going to be coming in. They heard the action. They want a third party off of it. They want to possibly pick up even more points here. And with the sound of a nade coming out from Fiend, he's able to find the third kill onto Level. Fiend absolutely having a hell of a game here on Miramar. That's definitely the type of performance that is indicative of a PELC or better team. Intruders, out they go. BSD of the Istanbul Wildcats continue to fight here in this match, regardless of the fact that they did face off against massive casualties to kick this off. 14 teams now remain as squads are beginning to get eliminated. Just past the 20-minute mark of the match. Triquo going to be going down and out, anonymous as well. Our victors of the previous game on Sanak are facing off against a massive obstacle, and it's really not going to get any easier. Hakkapeliittas is able to find another tag down. Myca gets flushed down and out. I believe one member just going to be left for the ADR farmers. And that's going to be all she wrote. Anonymous gets spotted out. Dose pilots come in and mop it up. Massive nades going to be flying into this building where Dose pilots are currently sitting into as Fight Club starts the breach. They hear a few other squads trying to rotate out of this area, and now the breach is in full effect. Pola going to be knocked down, and now Dose pilots quickly going to be eliminated off of the map, but now Fight Club third partied on right as soon as that happens. Across the road, the shots do connect, and multiple different teams will be benefiting from this chaos. Gifted going to be trying to stay alive here, trying to counteract the blue zone while also trying to wait out the massive fights that are occurring just about 20 meters off of this position. He's trying to get some audible cues, trying to get some vision, but unfortunately in doing so reveals his body to the members of Brute Force. Out they go in 11th place position, and Milk Power starts to light things up. Apocalypse going to be going down and out as he was cooking a grenade. Ewan is able to find the knockdown. And then the post-knock grenade falls out of his hand right at his feet and eliminates him from the game. Hakkapeliittas is going to be wiped out as well in 10th place position. We're now down into single digits for teams remaining. 9 squads left here. Top 8 is where you want to be if you want to walk away with any placement points from this match. Stellar, somehow still going to be alive. Beamy. A tale of survival here for this squad as Milk Power is now going to be heavily under fire inside of this field. Nothing but a tractor and smoke concealment to really provide any utility for them to work off of. The tractor with the cover, the smoke for the concealment. And the blue zone comes in off of the edge. Stellar, Beamy, not able to advance just outside of placement points is where they will be falling. Creatures push up. Just off of the western side of the circle. They've got a hay structure to hold on to, but it definitely opens them up to a few angles as they try to seek shelter from others. Boris still going to be alive here. Sando taking a few peeks over the hillside and will likely be retreating, yes, back to a bit of safety with his teammate. Brute Force has spotted out the Preachers in the field. I believe they've got 3 alive. With some cover to work off of, it's not going to be too terrible for them until about phase number 7, where they face off against the potential of an Eastern shift, one that sees them having to cross this wide open area that we are looking at right now. HaKoHe able to find a nice knockdown onto the member of Boris. Sando, though, is going to be right there to pick his teammate back up. Recover off of that quickly. It's like it never even happened. Now the fight starts to break out. Preacher's going to be looking to try to capitalize on this, but Fike is in a position that I don't think the members of this squad are going to be even remotely expecting. Finds the first spray down onto Mkaelovich. This is going to be the second knock for this player, and then a nade comes in huge from his teammate, Fiend. Massive kills for HaKoHe. They're having a hell of a game right now, facing off against engagements where you're kind of thinking, how in the world did this end up going in favor of this squad? Next shift going to be coming out. The Preachers saved for now. The prayers have paid off for this team because they could have had to have faced off against the transition across that wide open road, which would have likely spelled disaster for that squad. 25 minutes, though, end of game number 2. We've got 7 teams remaining, 19 players alive, and HaKoHe is now under fire, trying to work their way off this previous position where they were able to amass some kills. A small dip is all that is keeping them alive right now. Vlad gets knocked down. They've got the smokes, though, to likely give them enough concealment to pick up the res and keep 3 on their feet. And if HaKoHe can stay alive for a little bit longer, they can almost be forgotten by these teams by virtue of how much pressure is going to be coming from the northeastern side of phase number 7. Istanbul Wildcats still going to be alive. BSD in the prone position. Ewan, he thought he saw someone, but it wasn't exactly what he thought. Spray down comes in. Ewan will be dropped down, but not going to be flushed. The other members of Melt Power are there to protect their fallen teammate. Out go the Istanbul Wildcats. 6 teams now going to be remaining. And CrazyCrew going to be picked off at the shack as well. It's Tony team, Blacklight, who's able to find the Mini 14 headshot and eliminate that squad. Tony team pushes up onto the compound where Brute Force currently hold on to. AmerouuS felt a little bit of pressure coming off of that angle and will be fishing with a few grenades to try to flush out these snakes in the grass. Papagwai and Blacklight continue to advance that position, though, and they're undetected, at least for right now, and will likely be able to continue to hold on to this position for the next 30 to 45 seconds. Ooh, Fiend is looking for more. Already able to pick up 4 kills here in this game and has a pretty good idea on where some of his opponents might lie. Going to be catching out the members of Brute Force in a very open position. A few shots ring true from the Mini 14, and based off of where he just saw Brute Force looking, I think that all but confirms that snakes are, yes, in the grass. Here's the shots now. Going to be looking over towards the tractor. Sees the nade comes in as well. Oh, he's going to be able to steal away the kill. Just narrowly saw the back of Papagwai. And there it is. The final nade comes in. AmerouuS is able to find the elimination onto the Tony team. Out in 5th place position, they do go. 4 teams remain. 12 players alive. That's a 3-player per team average here between these squads, and it's almost what we're going to be working with. It's a 3v3, v4, v2. Melt the Power trying to make that last-ditch effort to get a vehicle, get that Bronco into the zone, provide them with a little bit of cover as well. But it's on fire. A few more shots is all it's going to take to explode that vehicle. And with the HP that Guess Who is working off of, he's got to be careful to, one, get as far away from possible to avoid the damage from the vehicle, which, yes, he's been able to do now, but not too far away to where he has no cover to work off of. Nice smoke to be deployed to open up the possibilities there. And now the other members of Melted Power start to push up off of the back of what Guess Who has been able to put into effect for their squad. Nice shots coming out. Guess Who is able to find the tag down onto Hawk. One of the members of the only squad that had 4 players alive is going to be knocked down. Another knock comes in. AmerouuS is going to be facing off against the members of HaKoHe, who are now starting to third party onto this engagement. So Brute Force needs to be careful here. They're at least having their attention split between 2 different squads on polarized directions of the map, the north and the south. 2 members currently knocked. Can HalloSenpai, can Mackenzie do enough here to recover off the damage that has been dealt onto this team? Starting to fish for a little bit of pressure over towards this direction, trying to open up a small bit of time for Brute Force to pick up this res. It's also going to be opening up and drawing out the position of Melted Power for HaKoHe. Preachers off to the far west will not be able to extend their push here in this game. Will be the 4th team in this match. 3 squads going to be remaining, 10 players alive. And nades continue to come in. Fiend stays alive somehow. Still working that position off the far southern angle, but Phase 9, the ultimate collapse here in PUBG Competitive is underway. Another knock comes back out. Melted Power is fine. Is able to find another connection onto Hawk. Their second knock of the game will be bleeding out a little bit faster at this juncture, which forces HalloSenpai to have to make the quick decision. Can I go for the res, or do I go for the kills? Magebane trying to find a big spray down onto Fiend. Will be able to put out enough damage to at least force Fiend to go down to the blue zone, but won't be able to benefit off of the points. Every team is being whittled down here in the final moments. Fike, the solo player left alive for HaKoHe, is going to be able to spot out HalloSenpai, knocked down, picks up the kill point, the 8th in the pocket for HaKoHe. Still in this ultimate collapse, though, 1 minute and 20 seconds until this game closes out. Big spray down, and there it is. Melted Power with that final kill on to HaKoHe is able to find a chicken dinner, a 19-point chicken dinner at that here on Miramar. Is a hell of a way to kickstart this day for the members of Melted Power. We'll take a look at some of the replays here from this match. It was a pretty exciting Miramar match, one that started off a little bit slow, and that's understandable, but one that quickly, at around the 15-minute mark of the match, went into a chaotic gunfest between multiple different teams. There wasn't really anywhere that was easy to position themselves, and as you see here from the replays, it was a tale of just trying to survive, trying to stay alive, which anywhere inside of maybe Phase 3 and onwards was going to be a tall task to do so. Istanbul Wildcats pushed pretty far based off of the casualties that they were facing off against earlier on in this game. Stellar, another story, very similar to the previous game, not able to make it obviously into those high placement points, but still a good effort from them nonetheless. That was a massive push for the members of Level into HaKoHe, and Fiend cleaned it up. A pretty much textbook PUBG fatal funnel. Aggressive push coming in from the members of Fight Club, but right after that, they were immediately capitalized on by those third-party shots. Pretty exciting point of the game. But yeah, I mean, I really think that this game was definitely a story of HaKoHe and Melted Power. These are two teams that really had a huge impact on the lobby and how things played out in the final few minutes of that match. So definitely could have gone the way of either of those teams. And certainly the performances throughout that match supported walking away with the chicken dinner. But it's not easy. A few more shots come in from Fiend here as they're able to find that kill steal before going out themselves. Tony team, yeah, their position was pretty much exposed for the remainder of that game. It was just a story of how long they were going to be able to survive there. And then the final moments. There it is. Fine. Coming in, huge shots. Melted Power walk away with the second win of the day, the second game of Stage 2 of the PUBG Europe League Contenders Promotionals. We're going to be back at about 40 after the hour, probably a little bit earlier than that, for game number 3 of the day. My name is Esquire, guys. Once again, as always, it's a pleasure to be here commentating the action for you guys. We'll take a brief look at some of the points before we send you off. Instead of 2 teams in the previous game that were not able to find any points, this time it's just going to be one. Royalty walking away with 0 points from game number 2. And again, these are the types of games that you pretty much should never want to have, even inside of your vocabulary. 0-point game, forget about it. Where you really want to be is, yes, the sweet spot where some of the top 8 teams have found themselves in. Around that 5 to 6 point game is essentially what you want to be your average, working yourself through a tournament. Even more, in these kind of short form tournaments where it's just 4 days. But a massive point total coming in for Melt the Power. 19 points on the board is going to definitely propel them into what is a feel-good position. But it's only day number 1. Huge damage. Brute Force had a good breakfast. Had a good breakfast for sure. AmerouuS is having a hell of a day right now. 1K damage. The only player so far here in stage number 2 to break into that 1K club and setting the bar very high. Looking at our kills, AmerouuS, 1K damage, only going to have 4 kills from that. But certainly a very huge impact on the game. Head-to-head stats, looking at the 2 teams that finished first and second. It's going to be Melt the Power versus HaKoHe. Very similar in terms of kills. A little bit more damage on the sides of Melt the Power. Then we pop over into the individual stats of the players. Almost into the 1K damage club. It's going to be fine. Put that up against Fiend. I think both of these players had just tremendous games. Should be very proud of the performance that they put up in that match. Here's your total points now as they stand after 2 games have been played out. Still going to have, 14 more games? 14 more games. 4 games per day, 4 days. 16 games total. ADR Farmer still going to be sitting in the lead, 24 points. However, Brute Force is catching up, 22 points. Melt the Power in third, propelling themselves up the leaderboards with that victory, now 20 points. So it's going to be very close, neck and neck, at least as far as the top 6 are concerned, 7 and 8. A little bit of separation in between those, but the leaderboards are still very undeveloped as we continue on here. We won't be really able to get a good read on how teams are positioning themselves until maybe day 3, possibly even day 4. It's going to be a very, very tough fought tournament between these teams. Game number 2 in the books. Guys, make sure to maybe go get a snack, go get a drink, and then don't touch that browser. Make sure to stay here for the final half of the day, the final 2 games. I believe we're going back to Miramar, I think, and then over to Erangel to cap off the day. ADR Farmers walking away with your first win of the day. Melt the Power with game number 2, match 3, coming up in about 10 minutes.